There's this kind of narrative around Caleb's show. It has since morphed into something much more mean-spirited.
They know what they're getting into. They're not getting blindsided.
Treating your guests in a borderline abusive way? That's gross.
Abusive?
Watch these guests in these shows. A lot of them go into what clearly seems like a fight or flight response.
Why? Because she's crying? It seems like they're going into fight or flight. That must be true. Because you said so?
Core to this whole voice is this idea that if you make bad decisions, it's a signal about your maturity.
If you're spending money recklessly, that is an immature concept.
When we approach our past mistakes with a sense of compassion,
you already owned yourself. This isn't a past mistake. They're engaging in the behavior now. You did not watch any of these very clearly. This guy is evil.
I work for YNAB. We make an app that is designed to help you with your money. Caleb's business also makes an app.
Okay, is that what this is? Are you guys going after Caleb because you feel a little self-conscious that Caleb has become more successful than you guys? I think that we might have figured out a motivation here. All right, guys, it's time to come to the defense of my best friend Caleb Hammer. It's just called "We Need to Talk About Caleb Hammer" from somebody named YNAB. I don't know. Let's see what we got here. It's probably going to be the typical like Caleb Hammer is kind of mean and he's Jerry Springer. Like, yeah, that's what he does. He gets people on. He brings people on to his podcast. He yells at them. It's a Jerry Springer-esque thing. They all know what they're getting themselves into, and they still do it. Okay, whatever. And he gives good advice. That's my thing. It's not like he gives bad advice. He gives good advice. So I like Caleb Hammer. So let's just see what we got here, though.
What
a joke. That's insane! You're beyond lost? You need a therapist and a mother that loves you.
Oh my God. Right off the bat, we get some based Caleb Hammer takes, dude.
We need to talk about Caleb Hammer.
All right, if you say so.
Because his videos exemplify a way of thinking about money and ourselves that we have normalized for some reason.
You mean like you have to properly budget? Okay.
And we desperately need to change.
Like,
if you're unfamiliar with Caleb, he hosts a show called Financial Audit. After 2 years on...
Is this going to go in like a weird different direction that makes no sense?
YouTube, it has over 2 million subscribers, and his business brings in 6 figures a month.
Hey, God bless you, Caleb Hammer. Good for you. I know he's been expanding. Good for him, man.
Especially on YouTube, that amount of success in that short of a time, pretty impressive. The basic format of the show is Caleb sitting down with 1 or 2 people to look at their bank balances, their debts, and specifically their day-to-day spending in their bank statements.
Yeah.
They try to talk about why they made these decisions. Caleb offers advice. He tries to make them a budget and generally gives them an assessment of how they're doing financially. It's a kind of spiritual successor to The Ramsey Show, where you've got people...
Is it? I don't know. I've never watched The Ramsey Show. I think Dave Ramsey's a fucking moron. Every time I see him, he says something stupid. I think Caleb Hammer is like, he's chill, man. Caleb Hammer is like, he's more socially and politically aware of what's going on. I've seen him in real time shift to be a little bit more like, more acknowledging of like some more, woke concepts, but just like more of an understanding of like shit's a little tough for people. He plugs mental health a little more. And obviously he's figured out a way to monetize it by like pushing, has he done like Be Better or something? I feel like he has. If he hasn't, then Caleb, what the hell are you doing, bud? You shouldn't be giving away mental health for free. But I think he's a pretty good guy, I think.
Bringing their real life financial issues
what the fuck am I looking for
and
here?
Someone giving them tough love, no nonsense advice. But there's this kind of narrative around Caleb's show that while it might have started that way, it has since morphed into something much more mean-spirited and much closer to reality TV entertainment.
Yeah, so what?
Than any kind of personal finance education. And I want to dig into that narrative because...
Here, I'll dig into the narrative for you guys. He puts on a little bit he and his guests put on a little bit of a performance for entertainment purposes, and they don't lie about it being for that. I can appreciate it. It's not like he's sitting here and saying, all this is 100% like totally real. Like the situation's real and he flares it up a little bit. That's what they do. Like, who gives a shit? They're honest about it. Who gives a fuck?
Because
I don't really think it matters.
I think it sheds some light on where our personal finance advice actually comes from. And because I think this notion that tough love is an effective method for changing people is silly and kooky and goofy and wrong.
It can be. I think it depends on what it is. It depends on the person. There's a lot of different depends. I would say that in this instance where a lot of the guests come on and they already know what they're doing wrong. I mean, if you're somebody who knows exactly what you're doing is wrong and you understand the ways that they're doing is wrong, which a lot of them seem to be, because I always make the comment like, why are you on here if you already know what you're doing? Then like tough love might be the only answer at that point. So like, yeah, it's kind of possible that they do know that. And also, again, it's an entertainment show, so
let's talk about it.
They know what they're getting into. They're not getting blindsided. They could watch a video before going in.
I'm Ben, and this is Sketchy Advice. We're just going to leave
it's a great name.
That one in.
Okay.
First off, a couple disclaimers up front, because I really want this to be a good faith discussion of the issues I see in Caleb's content. First, I work for YNAB. We make an app that is designed to help you with your money, and Caleb's business also makes an app.
Okay, is that what this is? Are you guys going after Caleb because you feel a little self-conscious that Caleb has become more successful than you guys?
Designed to help you with your money. So we are technically competitors. I am not making this video because I'm trying to win back people from Caleb's app or because I'm trying to scare you away from downloading his app.
I think that we might have figured out a motivation here.
Personally, I would hope that the reason you would choose YNAB over Caleb's app is because you genuinely think YNAB is the better tool for spending, saving, and living joyfully. Not because I tricked you into not downloading a superior app.
He kind of looks like this creature in there. I'm just kidding.
But I just wanted to flag that dynamic up front for the sake of transparency.
Okay. Well, I feel like there's probably a motivator there. Also, you guys have 150,000 subscribers, 149,000. How come you're not verified? It's confusing.
Second, I am not trying to smear Caleb. I'm not trying to cancel him.
What the fuck is this? Is this guy just work for this company that does like an app? Love how you spend. Caleb Hammer. 2 ways to reset a messy YNAB. This is why you guys aren't doing well. You should have just hired Caleb Hammer. You guys try to make a platform around, I don't know, this just seems like weird. A platform around a budgeting app or whatever. Okay, cool, I guess.
You watch his show and you keep watching it after this video, that's fine. I don't know him. I can't speak to his character or his
He's a good guy.
Intentions. I'm not going to comment on controversies he may or may not be involved in. If anything, I'm more using Caleb as a case study for how a lot of us think about money in our own lives.
I like that the money guys are doing a case study on a money guy. It's right. Do you have like a degree in doing case studies or something? Not that you have to have one. I'm just saying, like, I mean, why? Case study. That's not what you're doing. You guys, you want to critique him and make it seem like it's more than that. That's the vibe I'm getting. Because you're a little jealous.
But I don't think I could make this video in good conscience without flagging up the fact that there are some trends on Caleb's channel that I personally find troubling. Throughout the course of this show's history, the way he presents his guests in his thumbnails and his titles has become increasingly degrading and I would argue dehumanizing.
Okay, then they shouldn't go on the show if they... I don't understand, like, it's completely, everything's done consensually.
I think the way that he regularly mocks, berates, and gets into the personal lives of his guests to be highly inappropriate.
I mean, some of them deserve it, just to be clear. Like, there's one dad who, he's like, it's horrible. Like, he doesn't give a shit about his wife or his kid. And, like, you know, it's just fucked up. Like, yeah, sometimes they deserve it. I don't know what to tell you.
And I really don't like the fact that his show regularly leans into highly damaging, problematic stereotypes.
Sugar baby is what are the stereotypes? Let's see what he shows.
His show
I've never met a woman like this. Stereotype? Uh-oh.
Regularly leans into highly...
Homewrecker ruins everything to steal married old men. Hey, some women do be doing that.
Damaging, problematic stereotype.
Pathetic sugar baby is mad I won't date her. These aren't even that bad.
Around women. Now,
maybe the homewrecker one, but what?
Caleb says that all of his guests are made well aware of how they might be portrayed before they start filming.
Yes, obviously.
But they are asked permission. I probably 2 times for the thumbnail and title before they come on. They're asked permission in the green room. Then they watch the onboarding video going over the thumbnail processes. They are given literally every opportunity.
It's interesting if you listen to what Caleb said there.
2 times
before they start filming.
But they are asked permission. I probably 2 times for the thumbnail and title before they come on.
I think that's interesting because, like, it sounds to me, and this isn't even like a bad thing, but it sounds to me like they read through the people that apply and they read through their whatever information they're given, the different details of whatever, and then they already come up with a potential title and thumbnail before they even sit down with them, and the narrative is already set based on information, and it makes sense to be able to set a narrative because they have quite a bit of information. But the reason I'm saying that is because, like, obviously then that gives you even more understanding of, like, they know what they're getting themselves into, because they're even saying, like, hey, listen, based on your information, this is the narrative that we're going to kind of go with, yada, 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 yada. That's what it sounds like to me. So it's like, oh, okay, like cool. Like you're fully aware of what the fuck's about to go on here. You know?
They're asked permission in the green room. Then they watch the onboarding
And I'm sure that this is the conversation. Based on this is the conversation. They will look through people's stuff, the information that's submitted. Like Caleb will look through the information that's submitted to him. He'll read through it. He'll be like, okay, based on all the stuff that you sent us, this is like where we're going to lean for the title, for the thumbnail, and the narrative of this video, generally speaking, based on what's going on. Because there's a level of like Jerry Springer-esque performative, or not even performative, like a Jerry Springer-esque energy there. The advice is always solid. It's always entertaining. And then the person's like, oh, okay, like, yeah, that sounds good. I'm willing to do that. Cool. And then they fly him out or whatever, and then they engage in the show. Like everything is understood beforehand. So you're getting like an entertaining show with always good advice, with the person being 100% aware of the thumbnail and the title and like the entire thing. Like, I don't think that that's an issue. Who cares if people want to go on the show and do that? Who fucking cares? It's the same thing for like, it's even worse for things like Jerry Springer, Maury, and all these other shows. Why is Caleb Hammer held to a higher standard? Because he's an internet persona. Who gives a shit?
Video going over the thumbnail processes. They are given literally every opportunity in the world.
And that's definitely better than the alternative. But if the result is still leaning into damaging stereotypes, particularly around women.
What damaging stereotype? Sorry, fellas, you can't fix her? I don't understand. She's a sugar baby and she's a leech. Is she a sugar baby? Okay. Radical femcel? Maybe she is that. And this one just says somebody finally walked off financial audit. That's not even leaning into. Okay.
And treating your guests in a borderline abusive way? That's gross.
Abusive? Come on.
Okay,
knock it off.
With that out of the way, let's go back to the beginning of Caleb's channel. Like a lot of YouTubers, it seems like Caleb didn't exactly know what his show was going to be when he started.
Probably
so his
not.
first video isn't a financial audit at all. It's about lessons he learned from a rental property. And in it, he says this.
Now, I'm not here to put myself on a high pedestal and tell other people what they should and should not do with their own money. But instead, I want to go over my own personal experiences. And if people can learn from that, that's just a win-win.
And it is
boring. Start screaming at people, Caleb.
Truly disorienting to see that statement at the beginning of this channel when the channel currently looks like this.
You didn't stop spending. You did not stop spending, like you said, or else they would not be maxed out if you've consolidated just a couple months ago.
Well,
lies.
Sounds like she didn't stop spending and she should have consolidated, guy.
I'd probably pay.
No,
I
you did not. Lies.
I'd probably pay.
No.
You really pull out a fucking spray bottle there and spray her with water? That's insane. That's fucking ridiculous.
You did not.
There's just no way. There's absolutely no way he didn't get consent for that. Because if I was on Caleb's show and he didn't ask me first, I'd fucking swing on this motherfucker. You know that he's getting consent for doing that.
Why?
So what happened? Well, let's look at Caleb's first financial audit. He begins the audit by saying this.
So he came up from San Antonio to Austin so that we could do this, kind of break down your finances and just have an open and frank and educational conversation around that.
It's weird that he would say that because his name is Caleb.
And honestly, this is a really nice conversation. There's a lot of back and forth. Caleb allows his guests to explain themselves.
Oh, the first lesbian he had on his show.
And speak and give further context. He asks good questions to help people reflect on their decisions.
Wow.
What happens? You had to get 2 new tires. So, like, what is this next month going to look like?
A lot of walking.
Hopefully you don't need another 2.
This whole video is really just a
A lot of walking. True, that sucks.
respectful discussion that allows this person to reflect on their spending decisions. And I am here for this type of show.
Then go do that show yourself. You're a YouTuber. You guys have your own weird money marketing app. Go make the nice version of Caleb Hammer's show. Financial kisses on the lips. Go do it. Who cares? Who cares? Like, Caleb has people come on and they all know what they're getting themselves into. And it's funny. And it's an entertaining show. If you think it's done poorly, go make your own show. I don't know what I want me to tell you. Like,
I think this is great, especially if you haven't been looking at your money with a ton of intentionality. It can be really powerful to actually look at how you've been spending and have someone ask you questions that prompt you to ask, why did I do that? The comment section for this video is really interesting because a lot of it is people who are going back to the earlier episodes to watch.
Wow.
And a lot of them point out how much calmer and more respectful this interaction is.
Okay.
But interestingly, a lot of people chalk that up to how intelligent and respectful the guest is.
I guess.
But that leaves out the fact that Caleb's team picks who comes onto the show.
Oh, fuck, I didn't even know that.
And
I
Caleb's
thought you just had to walk through the door. I was on my way over there right now.
reaction to things said in these earlier episodes, he's going to have very different reactions to in later episodes.
Does this make sense in your head? 13 overdraft fees.
Yes,
You're literally paying the bank for you to spend money.
that's true.
Amount due this period. Pass the
Pass 2! Why? 2 in a row! Why?
Oh, maybe it's because he feels like he can't yell at the black women because he'd be considered racist. So, but he yell at the white women. You know, maybe that's what it is.
Why do you accept that?
It's
What is this?
The change in guests and Caleb's behavior are both things that can ultimately be traced back to Caleb himself. But a lot of these earlier episodes are just like this one. They are frank discussions of finances with a little bit of saltiness here and there. So where do we start to see a real shift? I would point to this video. It's the first one on Caleb's channel to get over 1 million views.
All right.
I think this video is where we start to see the true Caleb Hammer financial audit formula emerge. This guy is a grad student studying scenic design, something that he's clearly very passionate about, but probably isn't going to get him a high-paying job in the future. He has
Or any job. Well, maybe he'll work at Starbucks. That'll be cool.
pretty alarming amounts of debt, and at various points in this video, Caleb gets really
Did not
worked
mean
up.
to go that way.
You can see this exact same formula on display in Caleb's most successful video. Not only are the thumbnail and title literally identical, but everything in this formula gets turned up to 11. Rather than just a theater student who doesn't have a great grasp of his finances, we have a woman who is a spiritual life coach who is actually making a good amount of money, but has
A grifter. Okay, Caleb, you better yell at her.
wound up in absolutely absurd, seemingly unnecessary amounts of debt. And Caleb,
Seemingly unnecessary? What?
understandably, gets absolutely exasperated throughout this episode.
So it sounds like what happens so far is Caleb starts out, he has a nice guy show. Then one day he gets like legitimately heated from something. He realizes it does better view-wise. He's like, oh, you know, people are jumping onto this. Let me increase the, like, let me add a little bit of more, a little schmooze it up a little more. Let's add a little more drama into it. Tells his guests, and then he starts making more drama-oriented videos that are entertaining. Okay, cool.
All of that together leads to this really interesting moment.
Are
If it's not interesting, I'm going to fart in my pants.
you in a place where you should be giving that kind of advice to people if you can't even stop yourself from something as basic as spending?
Good question.
Well, I don't give people financial advice.
I know, not financial advice, but life advice. If you can't even take control of your own misbehavior, should you be giving advice to other people?
Good question.
Is that a valid question? Sure. But it also
Sure. It's a very good question.
underscores one of the resonating themes throughout this show. One of the core tenets of financial audit seems to be that the reason people make bad financial decisions is because they are dumb,
Yeah.
childish, or just bad
This guy is evil.
people.
Hold on, sorry. This is the problem, is that you did not watch any of these very clearly. I watched this episode here. Okay, this guy is fucking evil. This guy, you would have to watch it yourself. But like, this was a horror. This video was basically a father that doesn't care about his wife and kids and recklessly spends his money, and in my opinion, borders financial abuse onto his wife. So maybe he is evil, but you being like, oh, it just kind of makes people seem like they're stupid and evil. Well, some people are stupid and evil. Okay, and if you didn't watch this video and you're just using it as an example, it just makes me feel like you're a silly little goose. I don't know, man.
And Caleb might not agree with that characterization, but I would argue
I
that
do.
his show is making that point constantly. Just look at how often these words come up in the titles of his videos
Okay.
versus
Dumb and stupid, baby, child, loser, wannabe. Okay.
how often these words
Struggling. Oh, fuck! He doesn't use the word struggling enough.
come up. And you can see this mentality reflected back to Caleb in his comment sections.
Okay.
Whether
Then
or
they can
not
just not go on the show.
he intends this message, it is what a lot of his audience is hearing.
Okay.
It seems like in the beginning, Caleb is kind of resistant to this idea. In this video, he leaves a pinned comment kind of in response to people who are dunking on this guy, saying, hey, listen, I've actually gotten to know him. He's kind of a cool guy.
Yeah, that seems to be at the beginning of it before like it becomes part of the content strategy to like intentionally find stupid babies. That's just part of what it is. Because that's going to be part of it too. They're finding people who are more and more deserving of being yelled at to an extent, and then they're getting consent in yelling at them. That's incredible. Holy fuck.
But in later videos, the pinned comments or the descriptions look more like this.
Probably gonna sell an app, right?
It's leaning into the judgment, not pushing.
Oh, it's more of this is the pinned comment. Looks like it's the members only version. Every video Caleb releases has a members only version of it, like the extended members only version of it. How the fuck do I get over there?
It. Now, why are videos like this so successful? I think there's
It's the same reason why people watch My 600-Pound Life. Like the reason why people like Caleb Hammer's content is the same reason why fat fucks like myself watch My 600-Pound Life, because I'm fat and I'm unhealthy, but I want to feel better about it. So I watch somebody who's even fatter and who's even more or less healthy than me, and it makes me feel good about it. It taps into a part of me that goes, hey, at least I'm not that bad. That's why people like it, and it's entertaining. Girl, okay. These people could just not go on if they didn't want to.
There's a few reasons. One, if we're honest, it makes us feel a lot better about ourselves. Two, I think just listening to these people talk is fascinating.
Why'd you not work for another couple months and save up as much money as possible?
Well, when you got a fire in your pants, you kind of just got to get up and get rid of it. How much harder would it be to put your dream off forever and then die without ever having done it?
Yeah, 2 months is not forever.
2 months becomes 6 months, becomes a year.
Or 2 months
years.
becomes 2 months if you actually have a plan. Okay, but two months was an example. 6 months is nothing when it comes to a lifetime.
But when you're not doing something that truly makes you happy or what you want, is it worth it?
Like,
yeah, you work to live, and then you do hobbies on the side. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. This is a very new concept to be able to do what you really want to do. It's not really, I mean, I'm very lucky and I get to do what I want to do. So fuck you, bitch. But I'd argue that, like, I was content at my other job. If I was paid more, like, better and more valued at my previous job, I would have been much happier, even though it wasn't something I wanted to do. Like, I didn't love it. It was just a thing I did for, like, money. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
I just kept watching because I wanted to see how far down the rabbit hole we were going to go. But third, and I think this is really crucial, there is something cathartic about watching these videos. A lot of people attribute the success of Caleb Hammer to kind of Schadenfreude. It's just kind of fascinating to watch train wrecks, and I think that's true. But I think there's also something to this idea of telling people off. We all have people in our lives who make questionable decisions that upset us, but we don't really feel like we're in a place to confront them. We don't.
Yeah, or you could just yell at your family.
Don't feel like we're the right person to call them out on their nonsense. And there is something cathartic about watching a seemingly delusional or bad or childish person get called out in a really stark way.
Sure, justifiable call out. Yeah, okay, for sure. That's basically Jerry Springer.
But here's the thing, if that is the formula to making a good financial audit video, then that means two things. One, you need a guest who makes us all go, I want them to get called out. And you need Caleb to have a pretty profound confrontation with that person, which leads to this cycle of wilder and wilder guests being brought onto the show, and Caleb becoming increasingly hostile right out the gate. This core formula that financial audit is built on leads to content that is less and less actually educational and more just an episode of Jerry Springer.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I still think that there's a level of educational value to it. But in a lot of these instances, even in the ones where he's acting nicer, like, what's going on? Hey, did you know you have like 7 late fees? You probably shouldn't do that. Oh yeah. Like, how much educational, how much of an education can we get out of it at a certain point, right? Like, yeah, you should budget your money better. Here are some ideas. Yeah, we understand that. It's not like, there's not like a whole lot that you can really do with it. So I would argue that we haven't necessarily lost the educational nature of the video. You just have a wider audience watching it now, and part of that's going to be because it's funny to watch people that are idiots get yelled at. Yeah.
Why does Caleb stick to that formula then? Again, I'm not Caleb, but one reason you could imagine is because this video got 90,000 views And this video got a whole lot more.
Cool.
On YouTube, the success of your videos largely depends on two things: how many people click on the thumbnail when they see it, and how long they watch the video once they've clicked.
Sure.
And Caleb's grotesque thumbnails and titles
Grotesque.
paired with this odd combination of like the train wreck effect and catharsis lead to videos that are highly clickable and keep people watching.
Maybe you should do that. Maybe these people will watch your videos more. I don't know.
And I think this is something that we all need to increasingly think about when we go to the internet looking for advice. We are not getting advice from people in a vacuum. There is an ecosystem of content creation that is pressuring creators in certain directions. Creators feel a constant pressure to make thumbnails that people will click on. It is why Graham Stephan's entire YouTube channel looks like it is constantly on fire. And while many people are willing to stick around for deep dives and complex explanations and nuance, many more people are willing to stick around for extreme emotions, drama, or oversimplified solutions to complex problems.
Okay, so explore that. Explore that in your video where you think that Caleb is doing a bad job in his advice giving to these people. Show me that. There's your first meaningful criticism if you can actually stand on it and give us like an example of that. Show us that. Be like, yeah, actually the solutions are not great at all. He doesn't do blah, 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 blah. Show us that. But you criticize. I understand how audience capture works. I understand how you can get locked into a level of audience capture, and we want to supply people with entertaining content. I do fucking political drama slop. I understand it. But like, sure, we get it. People like to consume it though. So I don't know, criticize them, I guess. And then also, but like, give us that. If you think it's overly simplified, like in what way? Maybe we'll get a really good criticism here.
It is a tension that as a creator myself, I feel all the time. There is a tension between creating something that people are going to want to click on and creating something that will provide real, tangible, lasting value to people. I think it's crucial to remember that a lot of the stuff we see on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or wherever is optimized to be consumed, not necessarily optimized to be implemented or effective. Okay. But that's all mostly a sidebar. The thing I really want to focus on here is the way.
Couldn't you argue that if you thought his original videos, well, I don't know. I mean, like you could argue that his original videos probably wouldn't get any traction then, right? If you're understanding of the way that things become potentially sensationalized in different ways.
Way people defend Caleb's channel. There's this idea that yes, Caleb is maybe too mean. Yes, his guests are kind of wild, but ultimately what he's doing is a service. And you can hear an articulation of this back in that 1 million view video.
You need to see how dire the situation is. I'm going hard because you have just been living life like this doesn't matter, and you need to be awoken to the disaster you've gotten yourself in.
There's this narrative that what Caleb is doing is ultimately redemptive. It's kind of a necessary evil. No, it's not the nicest thing in the world, but it's the only thing that's going to actually get through to people. When Caleb talks about the origin of his show, he says this a lot.
I'm too harsh on the guest?
Yeah.
I have the conversation in the way that I wish someone had with me a decade ago.
The core justification for the way Caleb operates his show is that people need harsh truths.
I love that this game is soft locked right now. I can't hold R2 for this charge shot. Isn't that great?
And tough love. And first off, just to state the obvious, just because you say something harshly doesn't mean it's true. A lot of people, when they say tough love, what they're really saying is, I'm justified to say this in a harsh or demeaning way, or to do something that is harsh, because that's the only way to get through to this person. This notion that what people really need is tough love and harsh truth is deeply embedded in our culture for some reason, which is wild, because there is basically no psychological research that tough love is an effective method at all.
It can be an effective method for some people. I mean, this is the thing, is it's going to depend on the person. Tough love can be helpful for some people. Tough love could probably be helpful for everybody in different ways, shapes, and forms. Again, I'd argue that a lot of these people, if you watch their videos, a lot of these people come on, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. They know that they're making irresponsible decisions, and they still continue to do it. And so, those types of people, maybe the typical empathy route doesn't really work. I don't really know, and I don't really care. I don't think that the actual person involved, I mean, like obviously whatever else isn't working. It's possible that these people are beyond help. It's possible that the show actually does help them. We're not talking about every person. We're talking about a very selective sample size. Okay.
The two places you see tough love talked about the most are in parenting research and in research on addiction intervention. And in both cases, researchers seem to generally agree that tough love is insufficient at best and radically harmful at worst.
The only thing that I want to say in contestment to this is that my wife is a social worker. And one of the things that she says is that the social working field needs more men. And in the case of addicts, I'm not saying that they need tough love, but a lot of addicts that require a social worker can tremendously benefit from a stronger male presence that's willing to be a little tougher. I'm not saying scream in your face, Caleb Hammer, tough love, but there are going to be different people are going to respond to different things and different approaches. I would argue that like a level of tough love is actually a beneficial thing when it comes to especially the drug addicts that are in the system, 100%. So I'm not saying tough love is amazing. I also don't necessarily care if it fixes these people because they already know all their problems and they were obviously whatever else they were doing is not working. I'm just saying that this concept, like tough love is a spectrum, right? Like it's not just like scream in somebody's face versus not do that. Like there can be stern aspects to it. So yeah, but okay.
Watch these guests in these shows. A lot of them go into what clearly seems like a fight or flight response.
Why? Because she's crying? What if the husband's a piece of dog shit?
And one thing we
Like I've seen that before where the women are crying because their husbands are bad.
know about fight or flight is that you really can't learn anything in that mode.
It seems like they're going into fight or flight. That must be true. How do we know that that's true? Because you said so? What if they're not in fight or flight? What if they're just upset because they're hearing something that's upsetting to them? Sometimes you need to hear upsetting news.
Usually what you're trying to do is alleviate the danger as quickly as possible. Psychological
Well, if they were, then they wouldn't be in money problems, would they?
research into what's called authoritarian parenting, which tends to use this kind of tough love, harsh truth approach.
You can use tough love in non-authoritarian authoritarian parenting, and also like I'm somebody with ADHD, like legitimately, not TikTok, pretend ADHD. I needed tougher love. I needed much more strict, regimented love. I wasn't beaten. Well, my mom did hit me when I was younger. But that's unfortunately the way things happen. But she's since stopped. But anyway, my point being is that I need to be very structured, right? I need to be more structured. I'm not saying Caleb Hammer would have ever worked on me. I'm saying that like you are boiling down tough love to yelling. You're not being like, you're not exploring the concept of like there being a spectrum of sternness. That's the problem here.
Show that those kids raised that way do tend to behave better, but
so it sounds like
they also tend to be much worse at emotional regulation and making their own decisions.
Okay, so it sounds like you're saying that it actually does work because they behave better.
Two crucially important skills when it comes to managing your money.
That's great. I don't know if he knows this. Caleb's not their father. So Caleb isn't their father. So he's just kind of a guy on like a show where he goes through your money and yells at you if you do a bad job and you know what's coming. So
I'm not a sociologist, so I can't speak definitively to where this idea that tough love is like the way comes.
Well, you just showed us that there can be elements of tough love can be beneficial.
From, but I suspect there are two key sources: movies and our own personal experience. We see these kind of tough love moments in movies all the time, where like a mentor just kind of says the harsh truth to the protagonist, or
yeah, but isn't that usually after they've had like all other options have been exhausted and the protagonist is being a dumb fuck, right?
Insufferable character finally has someone call them out on their BS. And those moments in movies feel really good. You're like, yeah, you tell him.
Sure.
But it's pretty obvious why movies do that. It's a lot easier to film that scene than to show a character gradually changing their mindset and behavior over time until...
This is such a dumb point because in pretty much every single movie where the protagonist gets yelled at by their mentor, it's after they go through this cycle of trying to change them in like a productive way and it just doesn't work out. So it's like what you're saying is like the movies will portray in a sensationalized way the hero's journey, but throughout the hero's journey, not only is there a level of empathy given to them by their mentor, but then also the mentor has to be tough on them sometimes too. And it's like, yeah, there's an ebb and flow. Okay.
Till something substantial emerges. And that gradual change wouldn't be that entertaining to watch versus someone having a gotcha moment. And 2, again, it's cathartic. It feels good. Just because it makes for
I don't know if this guy's ever watched movies before.
TV doesn't mean it's effective in real life. In half of these movies, that person just winds up getting punched in the face.
Oh, you're showing us. Fuck, what the fuck is the name of this movie? Fuck, Billy Madison?
And you shouldn't do that. But I think
I think that was a comedy you showed us.
more powerful is many people have had an experience in their own life where someone spoke the blunt truth to them and it had some kind of transformational effect.
Yeah, I've been there before, sure.
And that's totally valid. But I do
Yes.
think we need to draw a distinction between someone told me something I didn't want to hear at the time, but I needed to hear, and someone low-key insulted me with something that happened to be true. And
What?
if this is what happened to you, I want you to ask yourself, would it have been that different if the person wasn't mean about it? If they
I mean, again, these people wouldn't need to be on Caleb's thing if they... Okay. I don't really care if Caleb is having a profoundly positive impact on these people. I don't really give a shit. I don't really care. I think that it's good that I think he gives them productive, constructive advice, and then he also plays it up for his show. And then I think that they also know that he plays it up, so they take it with a grain of salt, which makes it easier to parse through. It's not fully genuine, and I'm not saying that in an insulting way, but it's not fully genuine. That's the point. Is that it's not fully genuine. They know it's not fully genuine, so they don't take it to heart as much. If we believe Caleb Hammer when he says, hey, I have a discussion with them about basically what the flow and tone of the conversation is going to be beforehand, after reading their file, then we acknowledge that these people have a level of preparation into going on there, which I wouldn't doubt at all. That's probably part of it, and I'm fine with that because there's entertainment value to it. And I think he's relatively pretty transparent about it. So, okay.
they had just told you the truth. Another way to think about it is, can you think of any times that a parent or a coach or a peer or a boss or whoever told you something in a really harsh way that happened to be true and you just totally wrote them off because they were being a jerk? If I had to guess, I would imagine you have a lot more of those moments than you do this magical, transformative, grumpy mentor moment.
Yeah, well, you know what else is crazy? I wouldn't go on Caleb Hammer's podcast. So.
You've had a
Caleb Hammer's show.
Transformative moment, I would be willing to guess that for most people, it came from someone that you knew deep down in your guts really, really cared about you. And the weight of that is what carried you into some kind of transformation, not the mean words. And whether we're talking about Dave Ramsey or Caleb Hammer or some person on TikTok or whatever, these people, by definition, cannot give you tough love. They do not know you. They do not love you. They are...
So then don't call in. Don't go on the show. Like, you guys act like it's this fucking crazy thing. What the hell? You guys act like it's this fucking crazy thing. Like you're forced to be there. Like you're not. You can just not be there if you want to. Isn't that crazy? You could just not show up. But they show up. So, okay. That's not good.
Are just telling you things that may or may not be true and doing it in a rude way. At the end of episodes of Financial Audit, Caleb tries to make a budget for people based on their income. And you think this is kind of the moment that is redemptive. This is where all that tough love comes home to roost in a practical plan.
Usually, yeah.
But in his recent episodes, he constantly says things like this.
You're underwater by $222.97. What a joke. What a joke.
Damn.
Well, then
What
it would
a
be cutting
joke.
back.
Or sometimes he doesn't even make the budget. He just tells the person that they're too far gone.
Dude, there's nothing I can do here. I can budget you.
I think I've seen this one. Oh, not that one.
There's budget. Sure. But you are lost beyond lost.
In interviews, Caleb says that his team tries to do everything that they can to support these people financially.
I mean, maybe those people are actually gone. They have so many issues with their spending that they might actually be legitimately gone. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
Including things like free sessions of therapy and all kinds of stuff. And that's great. But if this is the beginning of your financial transformation, you're beginning it with fear and shame and anxiety. And none of those are strong motivators for lasting change. I've wondered if I should make it.
Then don't go on the show. These people are people that already have problems. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, like they already have their issues. Like they're going on with already like having a problem. Obviously, I can't imagine that Caleb's going to magically change their mind on everything. So, like, if they didn't want to be berated, don't go on the fucking show. I don't know what to tell you.
A video about Caleb for quite a while now, and the thing that finally sealed the deal for me was reading this comment on one of his videos. After coming across Caleb's channel, I now spend my money as if my bank statements will be audited by Caleb himself. This is someone who, with all the best intentions, claims that what now motivates his spending is imagining what Caleb would say if Caleb saw his spending. It's internalizing this critical, tough love, harsh truth voice that's going to call you out on your BS and beat you up whenever you make a mistake.
All right, maybe that actually works for them.
And I think so many of us have learned to internalize this voice, whether it's from our parents or personal finance stuff that we read or whatever. We think that the way forward to growing up or better transformation of our finances or whatever is to be harsh to ourselves. But core to this,
sometimes you do need to be harsh to yourself. Yeah.
Whole voice is this idea that if you make bad decisions, it's a signal about your character or your intelligence or your maturity. And inherent to that whole philosophy is,
and like, yeah, it is though. That's true. It can be. You know, you might have like a severe issue with your maturity. If you're spending money recklessly, that is an immature concept. There's a difference between financially struggling and being immature. Like, yeah, like a lot of these people are immature. They're first world struggling. Like they don't have a lot of money because they're getting food every day and they're being stupid. Like, yes, obviously it's a bit of a different thing here.
Is this idea that you should motivate yourself by what kind of this strict parental voice would say if you spent this way or if you took out this debt or whatever. And again, there is no research to show that that is effective. If anything,
who cares if there's research to show if it's effective? Like, it doesn't really matter. Then don't go on the show. Who gives a fuck? Caleb's not he's not a social worker. Who gives a shit? Oh shit.
It seems to be the opposite. Caleb has another channel dedicated to follow-ups from financial audit. And this is kind of meant to be a proof of concept that while this is kind of a harsh reality check for this people, it ultimately means that they come around. So you would expect this channel to be really positive and happy and full of really good results.
Not really.
Nope. It looks like this. And
okay. What does it look like?
Positive and happy and full of really good results. Nope.
12 months of failure. Don't do this. Trans socialist turned Valley Girl is no longer a victim. All right, that sounds like a positive one. Trans socialist turned non-binary capitalist. That sounds positive too, based on the narrative. Okay.
It looks like this.
All right.
And the really pernicious thing about this way of thinking that I need to beat myself up in order to shut up and grow up is it becomes this vicious cycle. Because if the research shows that this doesn't work or maybe is counterproductive, that means there's a really good chance that it's not going to work for you. And when
do your own show. I don't know what to tell you.
That happens, the temptation is to think, oh, I must not be going hard enough on myself. I mean,
maybe, yeah. That might be the truth. If you're struggling, maybe you need to be a little harder on yourself sometimes.
You need to be more strict, more disciplined, more tough. Which means you're either going to do that, which is miserable and probably going to continue to be ineffective.
Pushing yourself harder would be miserable. What are you talking about? What if it gave you the motivation to like not spend recklessly or something? What?
Or you're going to give up, which feels terrible.
But then aren't you already in the position where you're struggling and not doing well anyway? Like in this situation, you're not doing well already. And so you're like, what should I do? Should I be harsher on myself or what? Keep allowing yourself to be ineffective? I don't really understand. What's the alternative by this logic?
Because you can look at Caleb's follow-up channel and be like, wow, these people just really couldn't hack it to make the change. Or you could say, maybe this method isn't effective to begin with.
And don't go on the show. Okay.
Maybe internalizing these voices or receiving advice in this way is actually moving us backward, not forward. Okay, I'm starting to sound like Caleb. All right. Whew, ha. This is why in a previous video, I
You wish, bitch.
argued that one of the most overlooked skills in personal finance is forgiving yourself. Because that is something that is scary to do. If you have been told and you are convinced that the
and if you're continuously engaging in bad money behaviors and forgiving yourself, do you think that's always the right choice? What?
way to improve is to be this tough, strict parent with yourself, then it's actually really scary to let go of that and forgive yourself for past mistakes you've made.
Sometimes maybe you don't need to forgive yourself, though. Maybe you need to be harsher on yourself. Maybe you need to stop forgiving yourself. Maybe that's justifying your bad decisions. Maybe that's why you're in that place already. Okay.
Because what if you just devolve into something even worse than you are now?
Or what if it makes you better off because you're clearly struggling? What?
But actual research, like what I talked about in that video, seems to suggest that when we approach our past mistakes with a sense of compassion and forgiveness and
You already owned yourself. This isn't a past mistake. They're engaging in the behavior now. Just what you're saying is irrelevant. What are you talking about?
a desire to learn from them, we stop avoiding these things that have been causing us shame and stress, and we can move forward in a productive way.
Bro, you're referencing past mistakes. These people are still making these mistakes. What are you talking about? This isn't even relevant to what we're engaging in here.
When we fill our feed and our heads with these voices that are screaming at us, you're doing this wrong, you need to do it this way, what we're actually doing is we're removing trust from ourselves.
Oh, fuck my mom.
We must not be able to do it, so we need someone else to tell us how. But I'm here to tell you, you can do this. That's
Thanks,
not
dude.
to say you might not need help. If you're dealing with certain neurodivergences or patterns of behavior or trauma or whatever, you might very well need professional help or help from your community to move forward in a positive way. But what you don't need to do is constantly remind yourself that you messed up. Something I would encourage you to do is next time you're thinking about money, whether it's looking at your budget or making a spending decision or whatever it is, just pay attention to how you talk to yourself. Do you ask yourself questions? Do you think about what you care about? Do you consider your feelings? Do you sound more like a referee or a coach? And I don't...
Hey, how about, guys, it's really beneficial if you start budgeting your money. Because sometimes you don't even realize how much money you're spending. And so it could be really beneficial for you if you start taking like a little bit more, if you start engaging with that a little bit more. It's a good idea. There's my advice. I think for a lot of people, you just don't even realize how much money you're fucking spending on shit unnecessarily. And so it might not be a bad idea to start keeping track. It'd be very productive for you. There you go. There's some actual reasonable advice there. It's what these budgeting apps are for, because usually you're not really paying attention to how much money you're spending on shit.
I mean like a Bobby Knight coach. I mean like a Ted Lasso coach. Money does not have to be this constant experience of nodding along as the voice in your head berates you for all the mistakes you've made or tells you why buying this is too irresponsible or whatever. It can be a deeply fulfilling, empowering, life-changing, liberating, joyful experience where you are becoming more fully you. And you can do that while still being smart and responsible and practical and all that stuff. Wow. And if that's an approach to money that
I'm sure that's going to help every single person who goes on Caleb Hammer's show. You did it. You did it.
you'd like to see, then you can subscribe here. I'm on that algorithm too, baby. Let's go. Caleb Hammer is not the first person to build a platform on scolding people for screwing up their lives by being too dumb or too this or too that. And he's definitely not going to be the last. But the next time someone like that comes across
but he will be the best.
across your feed, I would encourage you to remember this. Just because it's good TV doesn't mean it's good advice.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate your cope video.